Hello, 我是Sheng-Pei. In this episode, I'm gonna recap episode 5 in English. I'll be mainly talking about the 5-step framework. If you wanna read the script, you can find it in the show note. I'm doing this because I've been thinking about how to bring more values to this podcast. To me, it's a little bit weird if I only speak Mandarin in this podcast and claim that I'm helping people learn English. Of course, sharing learning strategies in Mandarin helps, but getting more exposure to English is also crucial for English learners. This is why I want to find ways to provide more English content in this podcast. It can be a short vocabulary teaching section or the English summary of the weekly episode like this one. Okay, let's get to it. Mind My English with Sheng-Pei is a podcast that brings positive psychology into English language learning. Having a healthy mindset is the key to fluency. Join me in discovering how your English learning journey can also be a process of growth and self-empowerment. Hi there, how are you doing today? This is the English summary of the 5-step framework. If you have listened to episode 5, you probably know the framework pretty well already. The 5-step framework first starts with circumstance, then thought, feeling, action, and result. The circumstance is the reality. It's the situation that we're in. From there, our brain generates thoughts to interpret the circumstances. Then our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, and our actions get us the results. One thing to be noticed is that the circumstance is the external reality that we cannot control. No one can change it, and no one can control anything that happens outside of us. It might be a little bit sad to know that we're not in control of the circumstances. But it's alright, because the rest of the 4 elements in the framework are in our total control. As human beings, our brain is the most miraculous tool that we have. Our brain is able to generate any conscious thoughts if we direct it. And since thoughts are what create feelings, our ability to generate thoughts means we have the ability to create feelings for ourselves. We can then use these feelings to fuel our actions and get our results. In episode 5, I implemented this 5-step framework to building habits. I share my story about how I've learned to build a habit by associating more positive feelings with it. I was a very goal-oriented person. I used to use goals to drive my actions, and I didn't care about my feelings. At that time, I thought having determination is forcing myself to do things that I didn't like. But forcing myself to work against my feelings was extremely frustrating. That's why I had failed to build a good habit. Ignoring my feelings was not healthy either. There were times that I was anxious, stressful, and not happy even if I'd achieved my goal. Now I've learned to work the other way around. I still set goals like I want to exercise more or I want to improve my English, but I don't start from changing my actions right away. I start the work from my mind. I start from directing my thoughts. I try to think in a way that can create more positive feelings whenever I'm exercising or speaking English. For example, I used to see mistakes in English as embarrassments, but now I see them as opportunities to grow. When I make a mistake or get stuck during a conversation, I would just look it up later and learn from it. I also truly appreciate the effort that I put in English and consider myself courageous in communicating in my non-native language. And when I was able to feel great about English, I found myself spending more and more time learning English just to experience the positive feelings. I don't have to force myself anymore. Feeling is the fuel of our action. When you feel great while doing something, it's so much easier for you to do the same thing over and over again. Using positive feelings to motivate myself is far more effective and sustainable than forcing myself. And the best of all, I get to enjoy the process. So what do you think? Does this framework make sense to you? Come to my Facebook group or Instagram and let me know what you think. This is your recapped in English episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you like the podcast, then consider subscribing to the podcast. If you feel my content's helpful, you can even rate and review the podcast. And you can find me at sp.mindmyenglish on Instagram, where you can DM me and ask all the questions about English or building a healthy mindset. Talk to you next week.